Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Taylor Combaluzier, a mining analyst at Red Cloud Securities. Today's webinar features Abcourt Mines, which is a gold developer and exploration company with strategically located properties in northwestern Quebec. Abcourt owns the Sleeping Giant mill and mine, where it is concentrating its activities. It's also in the process of acquiring Pershimx Resources in an all-share deal after having entered into a definitive agreement. The transaction would create one of the largest portfolios amongst gold explorers in Quebec. Today, I have with me on the webinar Pascal Hamelin, who's the President and Chief Executive Officer at Abcourt. Nice to see you, Pascal.
Nice to see you too as well, Taylor. Thanks for having me.
Great. So the format of the webinar today will be two parts. In the first part, Pascal will give you an update, an overview of Abcourt, and then in the second part, we'll do a Q&A session. So please have your questions ready, and you can submit them into the chat at any point throughout the webinar. To handle, we'll handle the disclosures first and then get into the presentation. So for Abcourt Mines, there may be some forward-looking statements made on this call. I would direct listeners to the cautionary note on page 2 of the Abcourt corporate presentation located on the company's website. For Red Cloud Securities Inc., I would highlight that this webinar is for information purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation to purchase or sell securities or a recommendation to buy or sell securities. And we note that this call does not take into account the particular situation or needs of individual investors. Participants should rely on their own investigations and seek their own professional advice before investment. Please see our most recent research located on our website for Abcourt-specific disclosures. So with that out of the way, I'll turn it over to Pascal to update you on Abcourt and what you have to look forward to. Take it away, Pascal.
Thank you, Taylor. So so myself, Pascal Hamelin, President CEO, 32 year in the business as a mining engineer. I joined Abcourt last year in April 2022, and since then, the focus has been on building the Sleeping Giant mine and the mill. So our story is very simple, very straightforward. We have a good deposit, high-grade narrow vein deposit directly beside a mill. The mill is very functional, the Sleeping Giant mill. So this is our story, is to get the Sleeping Giant mine up and running. Like Taylor mentioned, there will be some forward-looking statement, but also like to make you notice that I'm the qualified person for the company. So why invest in Abcourt? Four simple reasons. We're a growing development company with strategic land in Quebec within trucking distance from our mill. The mill is 100% owned by Abcourt, and all our properties are 100% owned within 150 kilometers from the mill. The Sleeping Giant mine is fully permitted. It's a near-term gold producer. We updated the resource in December 2022. We're currently doing the engineering PEA that will use the resource from December 2022. And we're going to process it in our Sleeping Giant mill, which is fully permitted with all the mining lease in place and all the underground and surface infrastructure. We have growth potential with our resource within the camp. We have many deposits. We issued the resource for Sleeping Giant in December. We released the resource of the Discovery deposit 80 kilometers from the Sleeping Giant mine in April. And now we're in the process of completing a resource estimate for a third deposit within trucking distance from our mill, the Flodney deposit. Also, immediately following the PA is going to be done this spring. We're going to be embarking into a drill campaign over the Sleeping Giant mine to upgrade the resource from inferred to indicated, to move ahead towards a mineral reserve estimate in the fall. So you're looking at PA this spring, drilling this summer, pre-feasibility this fall, and then starting production immediately following the pre-feasibility. The board of directors, well-versed in mining. We have geologists, we have people from various backgrounds, but all related to mining. So and we also have two directors that owns over 30% of the stock. The management team, we know the narrow vein deposit well. We have geologists, engineers, operators at the site, working with the consultant to build up the engineering study for the Sleeping Giant mine. So solid management team, solid board. So we have and a solid jurisdiction. So we have all the ingredient to get a success out of this project. The capital structure, 348 million shares outstanding at the current time. In December, we had $1.1 million dollar in the account with over 3,000 ounces of gold in the inventory. We sold close to 2,300 in the quarter ending March 31st. So approximately 700 ounces left in the inventory. And at the end of March, we had close to slightly over $2 million in cash. As you can see on the right, officers and directors and I would say well-known investors with the company owns close to 50% of the stock. So it's there's a lot of pride with the directors to own the stock and get this project going. Our portfolio, the Sleeping Giant mine is at the is up here, about 80 kilometers north of Amos, 150 kilometers north of Val-d'Or. To the east of the Sleeping Giant mine, we have the Flaudin and Discovery deposit, number 5 and number 6. By logging road, we're talking 80 kilometers to bring a potential material to the mill. The Sleeping Giant mine, we released a resource in December 2022. We in the measured indicated category, we got over 173,000 ounces of gold, and the inferred we got 248. That's the basis that we're doing the PEA. The PEA is going to look at using the existing underground infrastructure. We have a shaft going down close to 4,000 feet. We have levels already developed to access the mineralization. So it's just a matter of doing the rehab of the existing drifts and some development to access the new zone. So the PEA is going to reflect that. Very low capex. When I say low capex, capex to upgrade to 2023, let's say on the electrical infrastructure, mechanical infrastructure at the mill. So we're not talking major expense. We're talking upgrading and development to access the new zones. So this is the resource. What you see on the bottom right is the block model looking north. So you see a section view. You see there's over 800 veins, gold structure within this deposit. So it's just a matter of drilling them. And I believe there will be a lot more of these resources that's going to come out of this mine. This resource estimate that we released in December is just a snapshot. So with additional geology work and of course additional drilling, we believe that resource has got upside potential. So I'll invite you to read this at your leisure, but it's the detail behind the mineral resource estimate. Just to note that the resource were estimated at $1,650 US with an exchange rate of 0.75. So the infrastructure summary. This Sleeping Giant mine was in operation from 87 to 2014. Over 1 million ounces of gold was processed in the mill. The head grade was 10.3 grams. The recovery 96%. So very efficient operation. When this Sleeping Giant mine was in operation in the 90s, it was one of the best cash flow generator for Cambior back then. So a lot of potential. It's low tonnage, but very high margin. The mill is in operation. The mill was operating until August 2022. It was processing material from the former Elda mine, which is shut down now. But sorry. So now the mill is on care maintenance, but ready to resume milling when the Sleeping Giant mine start breaking rock. The mill and the underground infrastructure are on the Hydro-Quebec power grid. So we have access to electricity from Hydro-Quebec, and very little, it's I would say 95% electricity in this mine. We use propane to heat the air and a little bit of diesel for the surface equipment for the tilling facility management, but very little. It's 98% electricity. The mill and the mine is fully permitted. The environmental bond is in place. So once we complete the engineering and we complete the pre-feasibility with the additional drilling to convert inferred to indicated resource, we believe this project is going to be a rapid start. So what consists the PEA? There is a 2019 feasibility study that was done for the Sleeping Giant mine, but it was before COVID, before a lot of things like the labor situation in northern Quebec. We need to incorporate a lodging facility for the employees. So that's going to be added to the 2019 feasibility, like for the CapEx. We're going to put a sleep camp in place to lodge the workers. And also, there's things in there, here and there, that you need to upgrade on your electrical system or your mechanical infrastructure. So we want to make sure that everything is accounted for. When we start mining, there's no surprise. So this is why we're doing the PEA right now. We're incorporating everything, and then following that, the PEA is going to be out in Q2 very shortly. And following the drilling, we're going to have the pre-feasibility or feasibility completed in the fall 2023. Now, the Discovery deposit. Discovery deposit is 80 kilometers east of the Sleeping Giant mill. It's accessible through a gravel road, a forestry road. The roads are already in place. So it's just a matter of developing a resource and eventually drilling it to increase the resources, the resource of the deposit. And then eventually this could be a deposit like years from now, of course, but it could be a deposit feeding the Sleeping Giant mill. In the short term, with the Discovery deposit, we're going to be doing some infill drilling because there's a lot of potential with this deposit. It's open in all directions. It's subvertical. So very simple geology, but it needs to be drilled. So there's 158,000 meter drilling so far on that deposit, and as a lot of you knows, a gold deposit require more drilling than just 158,000 meter. So there will be some more drilling. There will be additional resource update, but it's a deposit near our Sleeping Giant mill. So that's what makes it interesting. Again, the notes, same financial note, same financial parameters that we use for the Sleeping Giant mine. It's a conservative approach, but people will be able to see with the contingent, the various number that we're going to be using. People will be able to see the upside potential within the sensitivity study of the that will be available in the PEA. So in 2023, what are the objectives for Abcourt? Well, first, it's to finalize the PEA. We expect that in the next few weeks. 15,000 meter of drilling to advance the knowledge to convert the inferred ounces into indicated at the Sleeping Giant mine. Update the Sleeping Giant towards a pre-feasibility, so we have mineral reserve, and then we start mining to Sleeping Giant mine. On the corporate side, we're completing the transaction. We announced it last week. The we're on the closing agenda aspect of the of closing the transaction with Pershimex. So we're talking days before the transaction is completed. Also, in the next few weeks, we're going to be releasing the mineral resource estimate for the Flotdain deposit. Flotdain is like 6 kilometers east of the Discovery deposit, so very close also to the Sleeping Giant mine. That's on the way. And we have many deposits. Some are base metals, some are other gold deposits. So there's potential to look for synergy in the camp, either through a sale of assets or JV or option agreement. So we have lots of possibility with our other assets, and our focus remains on the Sleeping Giant mine and mill. So again, growing development company. We're growing in Quebec. We have the Sleeping Giant mine, which is a near-term producer. We have growth potential with our other assets, and many catalysts in the next few weeks with the Elder, the closing of Pershimex, the drilling at Sleeping Giant mine, the PEA. So a lot of things, a lot of good things for Abcourt in the next few weeks and months. So on this, Taylor, I'll open the mic for questions.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Pascal. So now we'll turn to the Q&A portion of the webinar. And just a reminder to everybody on the line that you can type your questions in now at any point. So to get going, maybe just on we'll pick up kind of something you were talking about at the end with Discovery and Flotdain, with the resource being out and then one imminent this coming quarter. Would there be any exploration work there planned before restarting the Sleeping Giant mine, or is that something that you'd look at once that's completed?
No, we're going to do that in parallel. It's a two different team. We have the exploration team focusing on Discovery and Flotdain. We're in the bidding process for surface diamond drilling. Both models, we saw that there was gaps. Like, all we need is additional drilling to do some to dramatically increase the resource estimate. But now that we have a 3D model, the geologists got the tools now to do proper planning, and there will be some drilling in 2023 on those two deposits.
Okay, and are those deposits the same style as that Sleeping Giant?
Not quite. They're narrow vein, high grade, but Sleeping Giant's got sphalerite. The other two, Discovery and Flotdain, they're more of the typical quartz vein. So not as much, I would say, sulfite as Sleeping Giant. Sleeping Giant is narrower, but higher grade. Discovery, it's less sulfite, but lower grade than the Sleeping Giant deposit. But subvertical, narrow vein. Although Flotdain, we're looking also. Sleeping Giant, there's no open pit potential at Sleeping Giant. Flotdain and Discovery, both deposits starts on surface, so they both have open pit in the resource estimate. Yeah,
that's always good to get going with there, to have that accessible ore. Okay, so we have a question here. It's a forward-looking statement question, but Sleeping Giant plus Discovery plus Pershimex, based on my research, I'm showing the possibility of around 2 million gold ounces, at least in inferred. Does that seem in the ballpark? I'll let you make any comments on that.
Well, eventually, yes, there will be some diamond drilling required, but definitely we're not that far away. Like, actually, we're very close to 1 million ounces already. So with a few additional diamond drilling, I think it's an achievable target. And we're not talking a decade from now. We're talking months and maybe a few years maximum.
Right. Okay. And then with that, I guess just on the Pershimex side, what would be the focus once that acquisition's closed and you've got that in? I guess what would be the focus and what would be the timeline on that side of things?
Yeah. So the focus for Pershimex is not Pershimex C, but Pershing Manitou deposit. we have a 5,000 ton bulk sample. We just got the permit to process it at the Sleeping Giant mill. So the next phase will be to plan the milling in 2023. That's what we're looking at right now is the budget. Where do we fit it? Do we do it isolated in the middle of, with nothing before, nothing after, or do we time it with the startup of the Sleeping Giant mine? So there's things to be considered, but the focus will be to process the material from the Pershing Manitou deposit. And then eventually, of course, there will be exploration, like probably exploration drilling to do over there as well once we complete the bulk sample.
Great. Okay. And on the shoot, I've lost my question there that I was thinking of. I guess with the mill, with that, as you said, kind of sequencing where you would process that Pershing Manitou material. I guess what would be the timeline to starting up the mill? Because I know we've discussed in the past, like getting it turned on and putting some low grade material through first, just to kind of get it up and running, and then before moving on to the high grade. I guess what's the timeline on the mill front?
Okay, we're skipping right now what's left at Elder. We're currently skipping, so that's going to be the low grade material that's going to fill the cracks in the mill when we resume. So you're looking at, like I said, it's a forward-looking statement, but I'm in the middle of doing the budget. The focus is to get the Sleeping Giant mine running. So the energy and the attention has to go on that. What I'm envisioning on May 1st is probably late summer, fall, process first the Elder deposit, like what's left at Elder, and then process what's in the yard at Sleeping Giant, because we have material from Sleeping Giant already at the site. There's material in our ore pass underground at Sleeping Giant, so process the material from Sleeping Giant as well. Then do an inventory, process Pershing Manitou, do another inventory, like a mill inventory, because we're doing this for to reconcile with the resource estimate. So it has to be, we're going to take our time with Pershing Manitou. It's not going to be processed at 35 tons an hour, So we're going to take our time, and then probably immediately after, we'll start processing Sleeping Giant, because Sleeping Giant will be the pre-feasibility will be done, and then we'll be starting to hire people and start mining underground.
Okay, perfect. So I guess let's turn more to the corporate side here. We've got a question come in, just wondering about cash balance. Where does that get you right now? I know you've got money coming in from the mill cleanup. And we just on this question, just wondering if there's any plans to issue stock to help fund the restart.
Well, there will be the PA is going to show that we're going to need capex. We're going to need funding for, like, I'm not going to start a mine with 700 ounces of gold sale. Everybody knows that. So the how we structure the financing of the Sleeping Giant mine, that's going to be what's the appetite on the market? Equity, debt. One thing is, I think royalty is maxed out. We have a 2% that was sold to Mavericks last year in 2022. So I think on that side, that's a done deal. There's no more room. So you're looking at equity or debt or both. Debt, usually debt holders will come once you have reserve. So pre-feasibility or feasibility. So in the short term, we're probably going to be looking at equity to advance to complete the pre-feasibility.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm just looking here if we have any other questions. Okay. Okay, so just on the drill program, I guess what would be the timeline for getting that 15,000 meters done? Like, how long would it take you to drill that off, roughly?
4 or 5 months. We're starting in June. The contractor has been selected. It's going to be underground drilling. One drill at first. We want to make sure it's going well. The core shack is ready. The geologists, they're all lined up. So it's just a matter of getting the PEA completed first, because it's the same people. The geologists are involved in the PEA. So once the PEA is completed, then the engineers will have time to look with the geologists on where we drill, to where are the inferred ounces that we need to convert into indicated, and then we're going to start drilling.
Okay, excellent. Okay, I'll put out a final call for questions to the audience, and just while we give people a moment, maybe if you could just give people your final thought, or final pitch, if you will.
Yeah, well, there's not that many Canadian mining companies that can announce that they're going to have a mine starting production next year. I think we're one of them. So the cap, it's very simple. The mine's fully permitted. The mill's functional. The underground's access is it's all ready. It needs some rehabilitation underground, but nothing significant. So I see one company starting putting a mine in production in 2024, and it's going to be Abcourt.
Okay, so we have had a couple come in here. So one of them, I guess, just wondering on the mill cleanup, is that final, or is that done, I guess, is the question.
There's still gold to sell, but the cleanup is done.
Hopefully that answers the person's question, because I wasn't quite sure what they're asking. They just said final cleaning, so I assume that's what they meant.
Yeah.
Okay, and then one here, just how much are your costs of drilling per meter in the region, and how deep are you planning to drill?
Actually, not very deep. We're going to be focusing on what's accessible from the existing opening. So it's mostly a horizontal drilling plus minus 45 degrees. The costs, including geology and assaying, you're looking at close to $150 a meter.
Perfect. Okay. All right. I think that answers all the questions we've had come in, so that's great. So with that, I think we'll wrap up. So thank you very much, Pascal, for taking the time today to host the webinar and present Abcourt Mines. And thank you to everybody on the line for tuning in with us.